All right. Now we are back for the second one. Whoa, what was that? Accidentally touched the computer, made it come on. We moved to Maplewood, and then I started first grade in 1965. Back then, they didn't have kindergarten. They would offer it sometimes, I think just partial year or, part time. It wasn't like it is now, and it wasn't mandatory. Basically, if you just started first grade, that's where you learned your alphabet, you learned your numbers, you learned to read, write, arithmetic, everything. I loved first grade. I loved going to school because my sister and brother had already been going for a couple of years, and I guess, I kind of felt left out because I'm about 4 or 5 years younger than they are. Um, but I remember my first book sack, one of those red plaid ones with the handle. That was fun. I'm sure I got a picture of it somewhere. I know Mama's got a picture. But I loved first grade. I remember my teacher's name, Miss Melder. And I had good experiences and bad experiences in first grade. My bad experience, probably the worst, was we were doing a spelling test one day. Now, take in mind, I'm only 6 years old. We were having a spelling test, and I went to erase what I had written, and it tore my paper. And instead of letting it go, big deal, of ripping your paper, huh? I start digging in my desk to get out another clean sheet of paper. Well, she kept calling the words out, so I missed most of them. And then at the end, she would call them back real quick, and I tried to fill in as much as I could. Well, when we got our test back, I had an F. That was the first F I ever got, and it killed me. I took it to heart, and I started crying. She didn't know why I was crying, but it aggravated her, and she made me go stand out in the hall by the door, which made it even worse because our class was close to the office, the principal's office. And I kept thinking, if my sister or brother have to go to the office for anything, they're going to see me out here in trouble in the hall, and they're going to tell Mama, and then I'll be in trouble when I get home. So that was stress and anxiety for a 6-year-old. Anyway, I had just about quit crying, and she stuck her head out the door, the teacher did, and she said, "If you're quit crying, you can come back in the classroom now." So I went back in the classroom, and, that was it. But first grade is where I met my best friend, Becky Cox. She had a twin sister named Brenda and Becky Cox. Oh, the stories, I think I would go home and tell Mama every day about things that me and Becky did. And she had long blonde hair. Well, one day in class we were playing, and I said, "I'm going to give you a French twist." And I stuck my pencil in her ponytail and started twisting it and everything. And I thought, oh, look what a pretty job I did. Well, the next day she came to school and she said, "My mama said you can't play with my hair anymore." I bet her poor mama had a time trying to brush the knots out of Becky's hair. That was, looking back on it now, that was funny. And Becky, she was like my little co-conspirator. One day at recess, we were playing chase with the boys. Well, the girls' safe zone was the bathroom, the girls' bathroom. Well, I went to run out one day, and she didn't want me to, and she went to grab my dress, and she said, "No, wait." And I heard pop, 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 pink, and I looked, and the little buttons were spinning on the concrete. She had popped all the buttons off the back of my dress. Back then we wore dresses to school. Shorts and pants hadn't been approved yet. And I think I did have shorts under the dress. But I started crying again like a little weenie. Ah, my dress. So they sent me to the office, and Mama had to come to the school and bring me a change of clothes, ask me what happened, and I told her, It was probably not that big a deal, but it was like, oh, my world was coming to an end. But first grade, like I said, I loved it. I loved learning how to read. I loved doing math. The only problem I had was when she introduced us to subtraction. I had no clue what she was trying to get us to do. We had our little blocks on their desk and everything, and she's explaining things, and I'm just not getting it, not understanding. And then all of a sudden, boom, it was like the light bulb went off. I understood, and I was like, oh, this is easy. This is not that hard. This is great. But that was the time in first grade that I struggled, is when she introduced subtraction. Little did I know later on I was going to be doing multiplication and division, but that's a whole nother story. That's multiplication, third grade. We're not going to jump ahead, but I got some stuff to say about that. But hold on one second. I'm going to stop right here.